You awake just before dawn to the sound of rattling and rustling near the mouth of the cave you've camped in. The clanking of metal sounds a touch frenetic, like one of your traveling companions rooting through a pack to try and find a particular spice or a fresh pair of socks. Sounds that you've grown rather accustomed to, so it's not out of the ordinary for you to take your time. You stretch, pull on some fresh clothes, strap up your bedroll, all before heading to the mouth. But oddly, the sounds don't end. Out of curiosity more than anything, you walk the few paces toward the light of the morning and you find your campsite empty. Your companion's gear still sits in place, dotted around the glowing embers of a morning fire, a pot of coffee hanging suspended from a spit spanning the fire with steam still escaping its spout. You scan the area to see your pack a few feet away from where you placed it with its flap open. With a yawn and a stretch, you take a few steps towards it, thinking the wind must have blown it away, or perhaps some animal in the dawn searching for a snack or two dragged it from the fire. As you get closer, the bag hops nearly a foot into the air, and the familiar sound of metal clanging ripples out as the bag lands with a clank and a plop. Something must be trapped inside. Maybe it's the perceived size of the creature, with it being able to fit into the pack and all, but you do not find it threatening. And with all the confidence in the world, elevated by the knife still hanging in its sheath at your belt, you pick up the pack and look in. Sitting comfortably inside one of your metal pots is a dark blue hummingbird contentedly snacking away on your whole loaf of honey bread. The creature stops gnashing its beak as you peer in and looks up at you, its face looking almost like a mischievous smile, as if to say, "Oh no, you caught me, but I still got a good portion of the bread." You smile to yourself and delicately reach in to scoop out the bird. It hops in your hand and then flutters onto your shoulder when released from its canvas prison. Still smiling, you break off a few crumbs of the honey bread and feed the perching bird as you make your way back to the fire with pack in hand. The bird stays put on your shoulder. You fill your cup with some warm coffee and sit down on a log near the embers. The bird lets you enjoy your first sip of the warm beverage, but immediately after you swallow, it nips at your earlobe, and in the ancient Sylvan tongue it speaks to you. "Now listen here. I'll let you get your coffee. Now how about another piece of that honey bread? Keep me fed and I will tell you where you can find some of the craziest shit your mind can imagine." Hey there, creatures, and welcome to Encounter This, a podcast exploration of the creatures from Pathfinder 2nd Edition and the lore that surrounds them.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Encounter This. My name is Freeman Ultrasonic Thrusteisten. I don't know why I did this voice.
You're peeking in my earbuds. It's crazy. I've never had my headphones peak before.
Today, my good friend James Green-Crowned Kid, I almost said my own last name, is going to be taking us through a creature known as the Harmona. If you want to follow along, you can join us in Bestiary 3, page 132. I think I've seen this creature. I think I remember the name. I think it's a bird. That's all I got. That's all I got.
You would be correct.
All right.
This is going to be another kind of a short one just because we've got a couple big ones coming down the pipe. And I honestly love this creature. I think it's so fascinating. Even its mechanics, I think, are just absolutely choice. Like maybe the best I've covered in 2E.
Okay. That's cool. That's a good start. That's a hell of a promise to start with. Let's see if I can pick it apart.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Let's get into it. So, the Harmona is in fact a bird. It is this bird.
Yes. Okay. I actually had a more colorful bird in my head, but I recognize this artwork.
Yeah,
and
this artwork.
Despite that, I am for the first time realizing that's not a rock, but it is in fact a helmet.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I did not
that's
notice that
not,
before.
yeah. And that bird is decidedly not a hummingbird.
Yeah, no, it's very much no. It looks very corvid.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So in Pathfinder, it is a blue bird listed as brightly colored, but we can see from the artwork that that's not the case. It is supposed to be a hummingbird or look like a hummingbird, but again, we can see from the artwork that's not the case.
Yeah.
I did look at corvids, but to me, this looked more like a stellar jay.
Yeah, I was gonna say it gives me blue jay vibes as well in a way, not just from the color, but the shape of his beak. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Oh, did that do something?
Yeah, you just showed some artwork there. Here you go. Oh, here we go.
Okay. That was I was in studio mode. That wasn't supposed to change, but
okay.
Anyway, this is a stellar jay. So this is the official bird of Vancouver. So this is why I immediately thought of this.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was no official bird of BC. I think the official bird of Vancouver is the peregrine falcon. I don't remember, but it's a local bird. They're all over the place, and I think that looks a lot more like this guy. So.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Definitely a stellar jay kind of vibe there. You are right. It is the official bird of BC.
Okay, cool. So I went and found this. This is a list of all of the hummingbirds that I think exists. I'm not an ornithologist. I'm just a very, very amateur bird watcher. So what we're going to do is we're just going to call this a green-crowned plover crest.
Which is plover crest. Yeah.
This bird.
Okay.
This is the closest I could find. It's got the frill, it's got the dark colors, but it also shimmers pretty brightly as its wings extend. I didn't bring in any of those pictures because I figured this would be enough.
Yeah. But the beak just straight up does not match.
No, this one's a little bit better than most hummingbirds, but this is definitely like a corvid beak. Like I thought rook immediately when I saw this, and then I realized I had no idea what a rook looked like. It looks nothing like this.
Amazing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so the image also has that helmet you were talking about, and it has these really interesting goggle-like eyes that are. I don't think I've ever seen a helmet designed this way, and it's got this Greek-ish crest on top of it too, which is interesting that they would focus on those details and somehow get the bird so very wrong.
Actually, the helmet just reminds me of is it actually almost seemed, if you look at the side of it, I can't believe we're talking about the helmet more, but right. The side of it is like doesn't look like it's really a part of the front. Like it looks like a mask with maybe something partially supporting it. So it actually makes me feel like maybe it's the defunct head of an automaton.
Oh, interesting. That would be cool.
In which case you could have any design you want, and it just doesn't have to make sense anymore, and it's cool.
Sure. Yeah. And that's going to do it for automatons.
Thanks for listening.
So the Harmona is a tiny bird, and it freely roams the first world. They tend to be companions of high-ranking fae, such as members of the Sealy courts. Only those with good hearing can identify the soft buzz of their wings, and they're all but invisible because of their speed. They just zip past. So again, we're getting real hummingbird vibes. They are very, very intelligent and curious. And if they have the opportunity, they will fly through gates of the material plane to try and expand their knowledge base. Okay. Once they're there, a good chunk of them decide to stay there looking for weird shit. That's just their bag. They just want to learn and be around knowledge. And that ambition leads them to contact with adventures very, very frequently.
Okay, so just so those few bullet points, what I gathered is a small creature, which we can tell, a smaller, tiny creature actually, which we can tell by the helmet, assuming the helmet's average size. I can see the hummingbird vibes, but the fact that you said it's from the first world means exceptions to the rules across the board. Doesn't have to be. It might give you hummingbird vibes. Doesn't have to look anything like one though. And these things must be intelligent, like reasonably intelligent, more than reasonably intelligent, perhaps, if they're like seeking out weird knowledge as like a part of their shtick.
Yeah. So prior to the remaster, they were described as hummingbird-esque. I don't see that anymore in Archives of Nethys because I have that open as well.
Okay.
But at some
as of this
point,
recording, they finally updated for the remaster. So,
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's where that comes from. Otherwise, I would have just focused on the Stellar J.
Fair enough.
The hummingbirds are sweet. Once the Harmona hit the material plane, it's not unheard of for them to become companions to higher levels adventurers when they are treated with respect. They do aid adventurers when they require it. They do resent being treated as pets, though. They are equals in their minds. And if you try and catch one, they will fight to the death to avoid capture.
Okay.
And
no bueno.
In the same vein, yeah, they can take on non-Fey adventurers as their companions, but it is unlikely. And it's always listed like that, so they choose their companion. It's never, your ranger just gets a Harmona companion if you're an elf. They will choose who they decide to travel with.
And that doesn't seem to imply that you're talking animal companion mechanics either. Like they are a companion of the party. Because if it was animal companion mechanics, you're effectively looking at a powered down version of whatever this creature is, and that's not likely to happen. They would be accompanying you more than anything.
Yeah, this would be like GM Fiat in a bird, like your guide or your words are failing me today.
Sherpa?
Sort of. You're a member of the party that you can use to info dump.
Sure. Yeah. Especially for like an area we're traveling through this area. And I will join you and I'll show you the way and also give you information on what's happening.
Yeah, or there's a temple on that cliff.
Your Tom Exposition.
Magic shit. Yeah, exactly. Your Tom Exposition. They have a little sidebar here, but that's pretty much it for the 2E lore. There is no first edition Harmona that I could find.
Okay.
So they have rapid metabolisms. They eat mostly flower nectar. And they have developed a taste for other sweets. So cupcakes, cookies, pies, wine. Like if you leave your pack unattended, one of these will just fly in, grab your flask of wine, and fly off.
Wicked. Love that.
If you choose to travel one because of this sweet taste, they can be very expensive to feed.
Fair enough. They like the finer things in life.
They really do, yeah. And one way to attempt it or coax it is to tempt it with a sweet that it hasn't tried yet. So if you got a fistful of cinnamon hearts and it's never had cinnamon hearts, it's probably going to fly over and see what's up. I don't know why I chose cinnamon hearts. They're not sweet or delicious, but
they're disgusting.
You get what I'm saying?
Who eats those?
I used to love them. Used to just go crazy for them.
I can't do any of the artificial cinnamon flavored stuff, like ever, at all. No way.
That's what happened to me. I tried real cinnamon. Not like North American cinnamon, but like real cinnamon. And it's a complete game changer. Yeah. For the listeners who don't know, the cinnamon that you buy in a grocery store, unless it comes in a bark, it's probably not real cinnamon. It's probably a facsimile.
Oh, yeah? Kind of like truffle oil? There's no real truffle in it most of the time?
Yeah, well, truffle oil, at least the way you make truffle infused oil is you put it in proximity to a truffle and it just kind of absorbs the odors over time.
Right.
This is just a different tree bark altogether. It tastes very similar to real cinnamon, but it's not as potent. It's not as there's not as much of a depth of flavor. It's just the cinnamon flavor you think of when you think of cinnamon. That's This is just this is getting weird.
This is my kind of tandent. Yeah. Tell me all about the cinnamon automatons. Go.
Cinnatomatons.
And their master, pretty well.
The Cinnabon. Which is short for Cinnamon Baron.
We need to find like what international like Baker's Day is and just create a whole suite of sweet creatures.
I thought you were going for the homonym there, but you spelled it out at the end. I appreciate that. But that's it. That's the Harmona in 2E and the lack thereof in 1E.
Okay, that's that. All right, straightforward. Tell me
Into
about
the real world lore.
Tell me about the weird bird lore you found in the real world.
So it's not that weird. We are going to talk about the green crown plover crest a little bit, because it wouldn't be one of my episodes if we didn't. If it has a real world analog, I'm going to try and talk about it. So when I was researching this, it kept autocorrecting to Harmonia. So
oh yeah,
that's why we kept going. That's why we're going down this road.
Okay.
Harmonia is Greek, Roman, Greek deity. I'm going to say Greek. It sounds Greek.
It's Greek, yes.
Yeah. So she's a Greek deity, not related at all in any way, that is, as far as I could tell. So here we are.
All right. Roman counterpart, Concordia.
Okay. Yeah, so not related at all.
Nope.
Nothing about fae or birds or pixies. At least in Concordia's mythos, as far as I remember. So this little guy is the green crowned plover crest. Words are hard today, listeners. I am sorry. It is native to Brazil. It likes forest, scrublands, and vegetation close to water, and is usually found around sea level because of such. They range from 8.5 to 9 centimeters big. I don't know how you measure a bird tail to beak.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. Or 3.3 to 3.5 inches. They weigh about 3.4 grams on the heavy end, or 0.12 ounces.
So
tiny. They're tiny and light. They've got these short, straight black bills that are it's a hummingbird. It's designed for piercing. It's not, and they're shaggy. Most of them. They've got some fluff, and they've got that frill on the top of their head, and they've got these iridescent green crests, which is that frill and the combination of the back piece between the wings. Mm-hmm. They're not really an interesting bird.
Right. Pretty simple. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Pretty. Very pretty. I love birds. I'm a bird guy. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So the comparison between that and the Harmonas, they're definitely birds.
really padding this episode.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Definitely of the avian variety.
Yeah. And this is where my notes say it looks like a corvid or a jay or even a starling. But again, we went with the let's just get into mechanics. That's what y'all are here for anyway.
All right, yeah, sure, why not?
All right. This little bird, it is tiny. Back when alignments were real, it was chaotic neutral, and it has the Fey trait because it's from the first world, which makes all the sense in the world. It is a level 11.
Say what?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Right out of the gate, I struggle sometimes with creatures that are smaller that are higher level, and like getting my head around it and like justifying it in my brain. Like it just doesn't without, and this is, I know it's a kind of dumb given we play fantasy games and how crazy they can be, but size seems to matter. Feels like it matters. If it's not the same size as you, how can it possibly be that sort of danger? Unless, of course, we're talking about some pretty gnarly spell-like effects or spellless in particular.
Yeah. So
before we even go in, I will say, I like when we were doing, it's still releasing, I think, as of this now, but our episode 100 series for Stemming the Tide. Yep. One of my original ideas for the final sort of encounter was going to be a very particular creature, but it was small. And it would have been very powerful for what you were doing. And it was going to probably mess your day up. But it was small. Doubt. And it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. So I ended up scrapping it. Yeah. But I hope this creature convinces me otherwise.
What you said is exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, it's going to be boring. It's first world. It's going to have a bunch of spells. It does have spells, but that's not why this creature is interesting. Its abilities are... Oh, chef's kiss. They're amazing.
That excites me.
So it's got an AC 30, HP 190, so we skip past that. Recall knowledge is Fey, so that's nature, so it's DC 30. Unspecified lore is 28, specified lore is 25, which would probably be lore first world or lore magic birds. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, maybe you're really into phoenixes, phoenix eye.
Yeah.
Not
lore
not
otherworldly bird watcher.
Yeah.
Say what?
World's first world ornithologist.
Exactly.
I think we just found my next character. His name will be Henry.
Henry. I like him already.
Perception's 24. Their land speed is 10 feet, but their fly speed is 60 because they fast.
Yep.
Speaks Sylvan. Speaks not telepathy. Speaks Sylvan.
Okay.
And has low light vision. So nothing crazy.
Right.
Its base stats are pretty fucking mental here. So strength is 0. Sure, whatever. Dex is 6. Con is 3. Int and charisma are both 5, and wisdom is 7.
Okay.
It has a few skills.
Yep. It suits a very fast bird that's from the first world, I think.
Oh yeah. I love it. It's got a 23 acrobatics, a 20 arcana, 22 diplomacy, 24 nature, 22 perception, and 23 stealth.
Okay.
Because it's a bird, it's fortitude save.
You said perception, performance.
Performance, thank you.
Yep.
I'm not used to things having performance.
Yeah, right? The least used skill of all time. Right. Not far behind survival. Yeah,
I wish we used survival more. We should use survival more. We're in a
certain adventures. Certain adventures really call for it, but the one we're in,
yeah. In 1E it would have been used a lot more, but now in 2E we've got other skills that kind of do that stuff, like the tracking and stuff. So its saves are fine. Its fortitude is 18 because it's got those. I'm assuming it's got those little tiny hollow bird bones.
Yeah.
21 reflex, 24 will. It has a weakness to cold iron 10 because Fey, which is great. Love seeing that.
Classic.
And it is immune to sonic.
Well, that's an indicator of something.
Yep.
And given its name is Harmona, sounds like it's going to have some harmonic effects, as it were.
So, while the remaster has come out, I did write this prior to the remaster launch. So some of this stuff may be not quite accurate with the remaster. So if you see anything that I don't see as we're going through this, please jump in and correct me.
We also still don't have Monster Core as of this recording, when we don't know if this feature would even be featured in it. So yeah, I'll try to keep my eye out on exactly that sort of thing. We'll see what happens.
Appreciate that. It's got 1 melee, and it's a beak attack. It is a plus 23, 18, and 13 to hit. 2d6 plus 6 piercing, and 2d6 sonic. This is a finesse and magical attack.
Okay, so it's getting sonic right in there with a beak attack.
Yep.
It's chirping at you. It's chirping at you even when it's pecking your eyes.
Well, the next one is the chirp.
Okay.
So it does have a ranged attack. It's called Sonic Pulse. It's 1 action. Also the same to hit bonus, 60 feet. 2d12 plus 6 sonic, and plus push 5 feet.
Okay. Push. That's a new one for us.
Is it? Okay. It just moves the creature. No save.
Gotcha. Okay. So I just, because you linked it, I'm glad you did. It's new to Rage of Elements.
Okay.
Push as an option is new to Rage of Elements. Last action was a successful strike. That lists push in its damage story. The monster attempts to shove the creature. This attempt neither applies nor counts towards the monster's attack penalty. Blah blah. So it is no longer free. So you're a bit misspoken there, and that is as of remaster. And which
correct.
Rage of Elements was the first book to print out a remaster rules before the player core and the GM core. So you do now have to roll for it because it is a shove attempt.
Yeah.
Used to be free. No, wasn't free as an action before, but it was a free as far as rolls go. But now it's no longer.
It's free 5 feet. Yeah, so now it's just push. It's not push 5 feet because you've got to do the action, and if you crit, I think it's 10 feet.
Exactly, yeah. And it will cost you, despite what you have written here, it will cost you a second action.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just only
won't cost you
one action.
Yeah.
Because the Sonic Pulse itself is one action, and it's not guaranteed to hit. But yes, I thank you for that. We should figure out a way to put that in the notes somehow.
Yeah, actually, it's a curious thing too, because pushing from a 60-foot range, I'm actually not sure how that applies.
Wind speed.
It's yeah, I guess so. Yeah, interesting.
We're gonna see a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something to get your head around. But anyway, we won't dwell on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's called Sonic Pulse. So I think the idea is that it chirps at you so loud the sonic waves push you back.
Right. It actually does. The push entry here does specify if it lists a distance, which you have here 5 feet, change the distance to the creature is pushed on its success to that distance. So you're actually not going by the shove rules. You're going by the distance listed here specifically. And the shove rules, it is 5 feet, but it is an important differentiation.
Yeah. So in the Harmona entry now doesn't include that push 5 feet. It just says plus.
Does
push.
it not? Okay.
Yeah. So.
Gotcha. Because it's redundant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. If it was more, it would make more sense. We have. Let's just do the spell casting because it's boring.
Okay, let's do it.
They're a primal spellcaster. They're an innate spellcaster, and they can cast Detect Magic at 4th level. Done. Spell's done.
Okay. Like, why? That's an actual why. I guess, do all first world creatures just are able to detect magic or something? Something to do with how curious they are about knowledge? I don't know.
So that would be my thought process. So if I remember correctly, there is an elven feat called something like First World Magic or First World Attenuation or something like that, where you just gain a primal cantrip because of your connection to the first world. I'm assuming that's kind of where this falls in, and because they're always looking for knowledge and information, and in the parlance of these games that we play, specifically the fantasy ones, the more knowledge and more powerful something is, the more magical it's going to be. It's very rarely a mundane scroll. You're not going to find the Art of War in Pathfinder 2 and it not be magical, or the Necronomicon or something like that, like something ancient and with all this information, because that information is magic. Like the conceit that we make in these games is, knowledge is power. And
yeah,
that's best exemplified by the wizard class, because they literally just read magic at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's fair enough. And I guess it's important to note that it is specifically at 4th level. So, that is the most powerful version of Detect Magic, essentially. Allowing you to pinpoint the highest ranking source of magic, so on and so forth. So I guess it does stand to reason that it's a part of its, search for knowledge.
Yeah, at the very least, it's thematic, and we can blow through it, which is great. Because as a GM, you don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But there are a few things as a GM you should worry about. So it has a couple of other actions. The first one is called Concussive Blow. This is 2 actions. You make a beak strike, and on a hit, the target makes a fortitude save. Then after the strike, the Harmona can just fly half of their speed. So that's 30 feet.
Beautiful.
This is Evocation, Primal, and Sonic. So probably just Primal and Sonic now.
Mm-hmm.
It is a melee attack because we're talking about a beak attack. That fortitude save is DC 30. On a failure, you're stunned 1. On a critical failure, you're stunned 2.
Okay. So I was gonna say, because you can't, as far as I know, you can't step while flying. So that makes an effective equivalent to a stride action. So that would provoke an attack of opportunity. However, it says you can fly. You don't have to. And if you happen to stun a target and it's only the one in melee, you can fly away just fine.
Yep.
At least I'm pretty sure, because I think stunned is going to take away your reactions.
I'm almost positive. Yeah.
I'll double check it, but yeah, that's already kind of fun.
Yeah, it overrides slowed, so you must lose your reactions.
I think actually I'm not 100% sure, because the one that's always confused in the mix is paralyzed. It's paralyzed. Feels like stunned, but it's not, and it doesn't. Yeah, it makes you off guard, and you can't really act at all other than to take recall knowledges. So it's implied that you don't get any reactions. But stun does not specify anything about reactions. It is just a sort of, I think, more powerful version of slow, because it just removes actions based on its the value attached to it.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds right. I mean, I don't think you get reactions when you're slowed, so I probably wouldn't give them to you when you're stunned. But I would double check that and obviously make the call at your own table. That's
for sure. Yeah,
that's up to you. I just thought it was a neat little, 2 actions, get to fly and could possibly stun a creature. But the next two,
it is still good. Yeah.
Oh, the next 2 are just amazing.
Okay.
So the next one is a 2 action. It's called Subsonic Pulse. They beat their wings, sending an inaudible rumble that shakes the terrain. This is evocation and primal, and it is a 15-foot emanation. So DC 30 basic fortitude save. Crit success have nothing, but a failure is 66 sonic, and you fall prone.
Oh, okay. Just a beating of the wings does this.
Yep.
Holy crap. So just wow, and it's inaudible, so it's just like a sudden beating of the wings and the whole ground starts to shake. That's crazy.
Yep. That's
describing
cool.
that to your players could be terrifying.
And if somebody happens to crit fail that save, 12d6 and prone.
Okay. Ooh. Yeah, brutal.
So high risk, high reward, because there's no success or no crit success conditions. But
that's the thing, is it's basic, which means there are. So it's success for half damage, crit success for not effective.
Oh, that's right. I
so
always
it's basic,
forget that. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's saving a page space, right? So yeah, they won't list it. But if it says basic, it's 100% follows that pattern of rules. But in this case, you have this extra bonus of the prone on the fail and the crit fail.
Right. And I mean, how often is somebody going to roll a 40 on their fortitude save at level 9?
I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like we actually are so bad about mathing it in our heads, because we aren't often at that level in 2E, and there, we have to remember there's that horizontal progression. So it's actually balanced wise, it probably is a reasonably good chance, assuming you are a fortitude forward character. If you are not so much, such as a wizard, pretty good chance you're not gonna fail it. But don't let 40 seem like too high, because the podcast, we're level 8 and we're rolling early to mid 30s easy now. If we're talking like level 10 or 11 characters here. If this thing was going to be a level 8 party, they'd be in big trouble.
Yeah,
that we can say for sure.
The way it was explained to me is that it goes against a party of 4 2 levels lower. I don't know if it was you or Cam who explained that to me. So this would be against a party of 9th level characters, and 40 is not outside the realm of doable. It's just it's a crit success for a reason, right? Like it's on that high end of the spectrum. I'd expect it to be no more than 15 or 20% of the time your player should be rolling that.
But the biggest question is this a single target encounter, or are there multiple things in play, right? So because if this is a single target encounter, then you are going to be a lower level generally as a group. Yeah. But if it's multiple creatures, you're going to be a little bit higher.
I don't see this being a multi-creature thing. They're lone wanderers.
They seem pretty solo, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But it's still a cool mechanic, and it's a really interesting thing
It
that you
is.
get to describe as a GM, and I just
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's so thematic in a way that I wasn't ready for. I wasn't ready for this thing to just be a wind tunnel inside of a bird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's neat that it's an emanation. I think that's the thing that's standing out for me the most. Because that starts, if I recall correctly, it starts on the sides of your spaces. So it doesn't include your own space, although
Yeah.
it can if you want it to, kind of thing. It's like the bless spell. It technically starts on the outside of your token or your square, but you can include yourself if you want the benefit. Because you are the one creating it, and but same with Bane, like you can not make sure you don't include yourself, but it's neat because it means you're going 15 feet out, not including your square, so it's an effective 20 in a weird way, but it's cool.
Yeah.
I love that concept.
And they have one more 2-action ability, and this just blew my fucking mind. It's
Okay.
called ultrasonic thrust. They beat their wings skyward to create a sound tornado.
Okay.
Evocation, Primal, and Sonic. 30-foot cone this time, so we've got almost all of the styles of template, which is great.
Yeah.
Also a 30 basic fortitude save. Crit success, you are unaffected. Success, you are pushed 5 feet and flat foot until the start of their next turn. So that's the PC's next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Failure, we're back to that 66 bludgeoning and prone.
Yep.
Crit failure is as a failure, but you're also flung 30 feet and it does double damage.
Hot damn. That's awesome. Till start your next turn, which is sometimes bad, sometimes not, but sometimes okay. Especially given that if this is a solo creature, so you're flat footed to start your next turn. If this is a solo creature, you're really only in danger if this did this right up in your goodies and then pecked you right away. Otherwise, that's not really going to affect you too much.
Yes.
But yeah, prone's always a bitch no matter what. Because that's pulling away from your action economy. And being flung 30 feet, that's a whole different ballgame. Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
And I love the visual. The visual I have for that is cool. Beats its wings skyward. But what happens is the wind like shoots back down, basically. So he's shooting the wind up and then like it's sort of curving and then shooting down and out towards you from its space. That's a really wild, almost invisible action, but like really cool to think, like, I guess, when it comes to the physics of it, really cool.
Yeah. And it has one reaction because that wasn't enough. So remember, this is a tiny creature. That means you need to occupy its space to do melee attacks.
Yeah. No, it needs to occupy your space.
Oh,
to do melee attacks on you. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to occupy its. Yeah.
So this is called flit back. When a creature enters the Harmona space or an adjacent one, the Harmona just flies 10 feet away from the triggering creature.
Again, fly though, so that could trigger reactor strike. But still really good. Really good. That's awesome.
This is one of the few creatures that is clearly built thematically for defense. Like it's not trying to kill you. It's just trying to keep you the fuck away from it. You pissed it off, or you tried to catch it in a cage or some shit, and it's just mad at you. Like it doesn't want to end you. It just wants to get away. And all of these things are thematically appropriate for that. But also, if this thing wanted to hurt you, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's really cool. You're right, because it's like it could serve as a sort of yes, it's defensive, but also could be feel like a deterrent, where it doesn't want you to enter said area because it wants the knowledge there for itself. Which opens the dialogue for diplomacy or what have you. But still built for that. It's not just avoiding capture per se, but still built for making sure you aren't doing a particular something and kind of getting you out of the area and getting you away from it.
Yeah.
Really neat.
One of my favorite roles to see done well, because I've tried to make characters that do it and have kind of failed miserably, is battlefield controller, like people who change the terrain, change the dynamic of the combat. And this is one of the few creatures that we've covered so far that I think just own that role and do it so well. Like it's done so well.
Yeah. It actually makes me think of recently I was talking to you and the rest of the crew about how I was re-listening back to our early Stemming the Tide episodes. And one of the things that really stood out was we're early days playing the system and not understanding it per se. And like there was a moment when we said, well, I'm just not going to spend my third action. And I was, well, you can try. I think I suggested frightened. You have nothing to lose, but it was at the end of your turn, which we didn't realize is like, that's what you want to do at the start of your turn. That's what makes most sense. Makes your initiative orders in the right spot. But the thing that really stood out was like, not just that, frightened is, better at the start of your turn. It was more that just stepping away from the creature as a final action is actually incredibly valuable, because now you force them, especially if they're a melee creature, they have to spend an action now to get to you, and sure, they still have their top end of the multiple attack penalty, but that just means if they have 2 action abilities, they're less likely. If they have 3 action abilities, they straight up can't use them. And sometimes they actually want to push you or trip you first, but now they're limited in how they can approach it. Stepping away as your final action is actually a primo tactic, especially for a melee.
Yeah.
And that's kind of built into this creature. It's either pushing you away or it's flitting back away from you, which is awesome. Again, it's not a step, so it's not nearly as tactical, but it's still a really good thing. Even if you take that reactive strike, hit or miss, you still now have to spend an action getting closer. Plain and simple.
One of the things I didn't realize until I was playing Guild is how valuable that action economy is, especially that first, if you have to step up to get into combat, like when you would move at the end of combat and Gilda had to move to get in range was some of the most frustrating combats I've ever done.
It really is. When it's used against you, God damn it.
Yeah. But
it's one really of the things that what we often forget is that Pathfinder 2nd Edition is built around the idea of only really taking 1 strike per round per character, like attacking once. We try to attack as many times as we can or get as much damage as we can, which is fine. But if you're a fighter, you will do the most damage per round on average than any other class, single target. But it is assumed that you really will only attempt 1 strike. If you attempt a second one and manage to land it, amazing. And those rare times you get that 3rd strike in and manage a natural 20, it's a really epic moment. But don't forget that you really don't have to be in there swinging all the time. You need to play the battlefield, and so does your enemy. So they want to be. If what they're doing is annoying you, do it back. Stop focusing on attacking all the time. Do it back. It'll fuck up with your GM as well.
Right.
They'll just start reconsidering their tactics all of a sudden. It's a great mind game.
That's a good point, and I never really think about stuff like that. Like I always think about, when I'm playing an offensive character, I try and concentrate on offense, but you're absolutely right. Using those third actions, even those second actions to give yourself a little bit of defensive movement, like playing Izori when I would take the take cover action, like just, it only adds a little bit to your AC, but at the very end of the day, if you've already busted a 2-action spell, like take cover, cast that shield spell. Do whatever you can to put shit between you and the opponent, because this, and I know more than most on our network that this is a deadly game.
Yeah. We tend to focus on move, attack, and class abilities. So, which is fine. But remember, there are all these universal abilities, all these abilities that everyone can technically use, or, there's ones that are skill abilities that are technically trained, requirement, whatever. But there are things that anyone can kind of attempt, and they are not to be underrated, and step being one of those big ones. It's like we think about moving and striking. We don't think about stepping away, avoiding a reactive strike, and making them waste movement on the next turn. Like we need to think more about that.
I don't often compliment Starfinder but that was one
Mhm.
of the things they did so well. That
Yeah.
harrying fire and the suppressive
Oh,
fire
yeah.
mechanics
Stuff like
were,
that. Yeah.
oh, they were amazing. I
Mhm.
usually once a round I would take, you know, a harrying fire or suppressing
Yeah.
fire action or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Like reducing their ability to attack, in some cases reducing their movement speed, and usually
yeah,
in larger maps focused on ranged combat, it can have a very dramatic effect on the battlefield. So yeah, good call there.
yeah. Yeah, I should look into those more because I'm not as good about those things as I should be, but currently my
Mhm.
action economy is tight. Very, very
Tight. Oh
tight.
yeah. The current one is quite tight,
Yeah.
understandably. Yeah.
Yeah, very,
But
very tight.
yeah. But again, you have to remember it's not all about class features. It's
Yep.
not all you are still capable, and this is talking to you specifically. You are still capable of just swinging, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and getting a good hit in, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's have it like if you're playing a class with a free hand, that's meant to have a free hand, and you get a buckler. Just get a buckler. You never know when you just raising your AC by 1 and keeping a hand free will make all the difference in the world. You just never know it. So
Yeah.
just get yourself a buckler. Just
Or things like the
don't
trip and the
limit your
grapple
options.
action. Yeah.
Oh, Trip is so good. Trip is so good.
Yeah, trip
I was thinking
is
about
so
Trip
good.
today before we
And
recorded this.
reposition now is going to be excellent. I'm so excited
so
because my character now has to have a free hand. Buckler
Yeah.
doesn't count. It's got to be empty. So
Yeah.
we're going to see a lot more repositions, or at least
Absolutely.
reposition attempts.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough tangential chat, I think.
Right. That was
Let's talk
fun, though.
possible homebrew stuff.
Yeah. So I'm
I
clearly
only have
very
one.
impressed with this creature. Okay,
Mhm.
you go first.
I just have one thing. I think because you said it. Oh, we're almost touching on all of the ways you can kind of spread an area. And we have a cone and we have an emanation. Really cool. I feel like concussive blow just should round it out and be a line attack. That
was my homebrew.
Yeah, strip out the beak strike and make it a line attack. Make it a basic fort save, just like the others. Just with a push added to it. Just add more options for that, like pushing everyone in a line away, pushing everyone in emanation away, pushing everyone in a cone away. Like just round it out like that. I think that would be way more fun. Because you really just don't. It doesn't need to be a big strike. It just doesn't.
Nope.
See, actually, it seems to me like it overcomplicates that particular ability.
Yeah, it does for sure. Yeah, that was the first point I was going to touch on myself. Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, why isn't this a line?
I love it. It just reminds me of there was a creature that we fought. It's well past in the releases on Stemming the Tide now, but it was called the Distraken. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And it had sonic abilities as well: destructive harmonics, painful harmonics, and shattering harmonics. And one of them was let's see, one had the option of a 60-foot cone or a 30-foot burst, which is amazing. Burst meaning away from itself.
Yeah.
In an area. The next one also had the option of the 2, but they had different effects. And one of them actually targeted a single item on the party's person, which I never actually got to use. I had a plan for it, but didn't get to use it.
There's still time.
Yeah. But yeah, I just love that the variety that it offered. It was like there was a single target one, there was a burst one, there was a cone one, and it was like kind of built into it, and like it touched on more than a few points, and this is in that same direction. So go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree completely. I would like to see subsonic pulse a burst instead of an emanation. I think 15-foot burst makes more sense. But it is rattling the terrain, so maybe directional is important, but
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that one could probably be a burst just to kind of clear the way around you, because if you get surrounded and you're a flying creature, you're you're not hooped, but it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, I'd almost argue if you really want to play up, really get crazy with the sort of what's the words we're looking for here, where it's like the different like ranges of attack and stuff. Like you could actually probably make the concussive blow the sonic part of it a 10-foot emanation from the point of impact, And the ultrasonic thrust itself, I feel like could actually be the cone or a line. You could hone it in, make it wider or hone it in, and like make the line longer where the cone is shorter. That's usually how you do it, right? So like 60-foot line
for
versus
that too, isn't
30-foot cone. Absolutely, it must be. Yeah. So I think that would be cool. I think subsonic pulse, you're not wrong, but I think emanation makes the most sense because it is shaking the ground, specifically that flavor text. It's hard to just shake the ground over there, you're kind of doing it near you.
So I would keep like that one burst target self is how I would.
Well, that's just emanation. That's what emanation is, right? That's the idea. Burst is on the corner of a square where emanation is on the edge of the square. You're effectively doing the same thing.
I thought emanation was directional.
No. Actually, maybe I could recant and say concussive blow could be burst, but on the this would get overcomplicated. But on the corner between yourself and your target kind of thing, and then burst out from there on like a 10-foot area and just catch the other people around it. But I mean, I don't think there's any creature ability in the game that actually does that specifically. So maybe don't do it, but. But
we'll give it a shot.
Kind of like
write it and tell us how
it is something you can get your head around to a degree. So, but yeah, I would. I think the one I would, if I had to really change one, it would be the concussive blow. Let it have a smaller emanation on impact, and then add a line to the ultrasonic thrust. I don't see why not. I think it would be fun.
Yeah,
it just gives you options, and it doesn't like change anything so much.
Not really. I mean, the fortitude save's still there. The difference between a cone and a line isn't really anything. At the end of the day, you're probably going to hit less with a line. Yeah.
But if it really lines up perfectly, pun intended, oh boy, it could be real bad, especially flung 30 feet,
Yeah, just the force of you hitting somebody else.
What I actually love about the cone and the line, both, is that when there are people that are sort of lined up in front or behind each other, is that, say, the one in the farthest back, saves nicely, but the one in the front closest to you fails, and you get impact, and suddenly someone's flung 30 feet into you. Now you're getting extra bludgeoning damage out of that by like just smashing your targets together.
What is it, 1d6 per 10 feet or something like that?
I mean, that flung 30 feet, they don't do 1d6, actually. I would take it like a fall damage. So fall damage, they basically went, like, if it's further than 10 feet, then you basically take half damage of the distance fallen. So,
15 that's much feet, worse.
Yeah. So, it's basically, it's an automatic average is the idea.
Yeah.
So it's like at 20 feet, you take down damage. At 30 feet, you take 15 damage. So, if you actually get flung, I would use those rules for smashing into each other. If you get a proper flung, 30 feet into an ally or an object, take 15 damage. Like it's rough, but why not?
Are you thinking the target or what it hits? Because I'm thinking what it hits. I mean, both. Because if you get flung into me, I'm going to take 15 damage, and I'm going to kind of cushion your fall a little.
I'd say if it's 2 PCs, split the damage. If it's 10, like 5 each. If you're hitting a wall, you're just going to take the full amount.
Yeah. If you're hitting a hard surface, like an immovable object, you're taking that damage. But yeah.
And you're definitely, at least the one being flung is being knocked prone.
Yes,
but the other one could
you're
at least
both
take
being
some damage.
Knocked prone.
I'm a critical failure.
If you get if something is strong enough to throw somebody 30 feet at you, you are not catching another person who's moving at terminal velocity and staying on your feet. I don't care what your strength is.
I watched a video today of a fella just beelining it through a crosswalk on his bicycle and smashing into pedestrian, and that guy went flying.
Yeah. People are fragile.
So yeah, it could be an incredible lesson in positioning on the battlefield when you don't know what you're up against, and this creature just launches this cone or this line attack at you, and you get flung into each other. You take this baseline damage. Like some GMs might argue, hey, you're getting too crazy here. You're doing too much damage. But this, like we said, this creature is probably not there to kill you. It's there to, give you pause. So
yeah.
Kind of go a little overboard with it if you want, but make sure you're not out to murder and kill. Just like let it have that impact, as it were, on the situation, and let everyone go. If you're going to continue this fight, make sure you are not lined up. Make sure you are in the right position. Make sure there's nothing at your back. Like back to the open field, boys. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not a complicated creature, and at the end of the day, it's not a particularly interesting creature. It just feels good. Like every time I read it, I get excited about what it does. And that doesn't happen to me anymore. Maybe it's, the years of being a GM. Maybe it's because I'm not doing as much Pathfinder 2e as I should be doing. But just reading this, it reignited my passion for this, creatures like this who have a very specific place in the battlefield and have these really interesting, well-rounded abilities to help them obtain that goal or carve out that space in a combat. I don't know. I love it. I think they're such cool creatures. They're not my favorite, I don't think. I don't know if anything will ever top the Displacer Beast or the Owlbear, but this was just such, like, every time I would read a new ability, I got more and more excited. I think I even posted about it in our Discord, which I don't normally post about what I'm writing, because I want it to be kind of a surprise to the other guys. But yeah, I had such a blast. I normally we do these episodes and then I write the intro, because one of the things I like about the Homebrew section is sometimes we'll make notes, but a good chunk of the time we're just spouting shit off the top of the dome. So normally I take those conversations into account and I write the intro, but I had the intro in my mind the second I read the lore for this creature. Yeah. And that it happens so rarely that I'm so happy we got to cover it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely, I'm the same. Like I me as a GM, I'm not like, if things are really complicated, I get lost pretty easily on certain things. And like, if it's a
don't
long
sell yourself
list
short.
of
As long as it's not an aura, you've got it under control.
Yeah. I mean, that's mostly true.
And that's not a pot shot. Everybody needs a little help from your friends,
That's exactly. But even like a long spell list, it requires so much more prep and like reminding myself before the session and like reviewing quickly during other people's turns and like constant. Whereas a creature like this and like the Distraction, like you look at it and you go, okay, that thing does that thing does that, and that thing does that. Those are cool. I've got it now. It doesn't take a lot to nail down. Sure, you got to still read the fine print every time you cast it, and or use the ability just in case, because there's always a little something in there because someone's going to question what's happening. But just you double check your tracks. But for the most part, it's pretty quick to pin down. This is for this purpose, that's for that purpose, and that's for this purpose. Yeah. So when I'm here, I use that. When I'm there, I use that if I can. And it's rather than a long list of spells. Of like
that's a great way to put it. Yeah, every one of these actions has its place. You concussive blow if you're in melee and you don't want to be there. Subsonic pulse if you want to rattle their cages, and ultrasonic thrust if you want to end things.
Basically. It's great. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm into it. Yeah. I'm the same. I'm the same with you. I really appreciate creatures that are, for the most part, simple to run and understand, but still have all this flavor attached to it. And so much strategy attached to it.
Yeah, and it really does have all that flavor attached to it. Like you said, I didn't even think about running it as like a guardian, but that might be the best place for it. Like just, I mean, maybe that's just where my brain defaults these days is to a temple or like a library guardian. But we rewatched Avatar: The Last Airbender in preparation for the live action series that came out. And I don't know if you're familiar with the show at all.
It's been a while, but yeah, I know it.
Yeah. So there's this spirit world library buried under a desert that's protected by a giant owl, I think voiced by Brian Cox in the cartoon.
Okay. Cool.
But that kind of place would be an excellent spot to just drop one of these. And it's not like a kind owl. It's pretty pissy the whole time the Team Avatar is there. So
maybe... Maybe that's your gateway there to having this creature not be a solo fight. It is a welcome member of a particular location, not just seeking out knowledge in a ruin, and it will defend it to the death.
Yeah.
And so will its cohorts that are also welcome there. which makes a very different scenario, especially given that I don't think any of these abilities specify all enemy targets. They're going to hit allies too, right? Definitely hitting allies.
Yeah.
So that could be a challenge in and of itself for the GM to navigate, but still could be really cool.
Yeah, and you've got other opportunities too. Like if you've got a high level ranger who happens to be Fey and you want to introduce this creature as a companion, nerf it a touch, take away some of its abilities. But it could be an interesting way to insert the GM's narrative into the party if that's required. Excuse me, or if you need it. Sometimes parties need a little bit of help and direction, and doing it in character, in world is probably the best way to accomplish that kind of feat. Like, hey guys, I need you to go here so we can move this fucking story along.
Yeah.
Here's a bird who's going to tell you, hey guys, go here so we can move this fucking story along. So.
I love it. Yeah. I need you to chomp down hard on the story bit here. Let's go.
Yeah. Or if your party finds a bunch of, like sweet cakes that are, 5 gold pieces a piece or something like that. Or, you can just have it take things away from the party if need be.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. Love it. You said this was me a short one. Joke's on you.
Shows what I know. I'm also bad at judging time. But thank you so much, listeners, for enduring this one with us. We hope you enjoyed the Harmona episode 121. If you liked it, you can help us make these shows by becoming a donor over on patreon.com/unchartednorth. $5 a month will get you a handwritten thank you letter, a theme button, some stickers, just kind of whatever goodies we have. We have a bunch of specifically made for the patrons, but I also tend to stuff the letters with a bunch of other cool stuff if I can. $10 a month, you can suggest a creature. So maybe you want to see another Fey bird. None come to mind.
They exist.
So
yeah. There was that colorful one that was in my head. It might be out there somewhere.
Oh.
I don't know what it is though.
Ho-Oh, I think.
Okay. Not Ho-Oh. Not Ho-Oh.
Okay. I'm kind of surprised you got that. That's not a shallow cut.
That was it was but yeah, that was probably somewhere at the end of my Pokemon days.
Okay. So, that's fair. I'm not going to say they're the last good ones, but they were the best. Gold and Silver, best games. Yeah. And you can at me. Just address it to Scott at Uncharted North.
You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, all of our socials are at Uncharted Now. You can see them scrolling in the YouTube or catch them in the link in the description of the podcast. If you want to check out any of our reading list that we used to make this episode, which is just one book, it is The Sibley Guide to Birds. That's where we got this really neat hummingbird image.
Okay, cool.
So big thank you to them. Yeah, if you're an audio listener and you want to see what some of the shit looks like, you can either hop over to our Instagram or we're a video show somehow on YouTube called youtube.com/@encounterpod. You can find our backlog of episodes there, starting at about 100, I think was our first live episode. And then one day we'll upload the back catalog. Not today, but one day. It's on the hit list.
On the hit list. Yeah. One day.
If you could rate and review on your platform of choice, every day it gets longer. This from audience from where you're sitting, this looks like a lot of fun. It looks like two guys just dicking around talking bullshit, and that's what it is. But everything other than that is a lot of work.
So much work. Yeah. Oh shit.
So if you want to show your appreciation for that work, you can rate and review on your podcast on your platform of choice. If you're on YouTube, you can hit that bell to be notified when new episodes come out. Sometimes that bell's kind of hit or miss, so maybe just check back and watch an episode once a day to get those numbers up.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, we really would. Put your name in the credits, sure. And if you want to do something that requires no effort, no work whatsoever, just turn to the person next to you and just yell "encounter this" at them. Let's see what happens.
Maybe it strikes up a conversation.
Encounter this!
Just get a headbutt.
Yeah, right. I sometimes I forget how aggressive our title is. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with, I actually don't know what, something else. Not a favor.
Something else. Something cool. Something related to our episode 100 series.
Oh, no shit.
Indeed.
That's episode 100 of Stemming the Tide or episode 100 of Encounter This?
Stemming the Tide.
All right. Sweet. So if you haven't caught up, you can check that stuff out. Stemming the Tide is an audio podcast, but it is also available on YouTube. YouTube.com/Uncharted. No, all 10 parts won't be out by the time this episode drops, but very soon after, I think early April, is when the last part of episode 10 comes out. And there's some cool behind the scenes shit coming your way if you're a Patreon subscriber as well. So keep your eyeballs and earballs open for those things when they conclude, because episode 100 was an absolute masterpiece by this guy. Never going to get these directions. I'm going to get a picture of you and just put it off to my side so I know which way to point.
You need a picture of me on your wall behind you so you can just point to that.
This guy.
Perfect. Oh, God.
All right, thanks, Creature. New Patreon too. Poster of Freeman to cover my window.
Get you a cardboard cutout.
It's just one of the old Michael Jordan ones from Space Jam with your face paper mache'd over top.
You know it.
Okay, we're
right,
leaving
thanks,
now.
everyone.
Promise.
Okay. Until next time, creatures, thanks, as always, for listening to Encounter This.